I Google UIC box. That's how I get to box. Say that again? Oh, yeah, we're right now. Okay. I'm overhearing questions and stuff. We'll go through it. Basically, you want to go to SolidWorks resources in the Des 400 Fall 2019 folder. And again, just please download this file. Maybe you've already done that. Click on three dots, download. I'm just going to close all of these things because I'm sure. All right. Now, once you have it downloaded, if you want to go ahead and launch SolidWorks, does anyone want like a brief Windows breakdown? Because I think some of you are Mac users, right? I heard a yes.
I'm trying to get unboxed from the Windows and it took me.
Oh, because you're used to Mac?
Yeah, everything stays on Mac, so I'm trying to get it.
Gotcha. If you're in Windows, there should be, yeah, Internet Explorer. I use Chrome. You can use Mozilla, but Internet Explorer is what came with it. It should be fine. All right, some things about Windows. I'm not recording this down here. I should be. Let's see, is it in here? The same. Let's see. So yeah, there's the start button in the bottom left of Windows. If you click on it, I'm sorry, it's not part of my recording. It's cut off here. I did not plan that well. But if you click on it and click on Documents, this should bring up like a File Dialog Explorer tool. This is kind of like where files are stored. I mean, it's the same as a Mac, but I guess it looks different. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. I apologize. Yeah, it's File Explorer. Seems like you're struggling in a situation. Oh, okay. Do you want me to? Okay. And yeah, your files get stored in here. So when you install SolidWorks, it'll like pick a file location for all of this to go. My advice to you is in your Documents folder. So again, go to Start, click on this thing that looks like a page. It should pull up something that looks like this, like Documents. I would right-click in here. Let's see if we can do it from File. No, I don't know. Anyway, right-click in here and say New Folder. And you can call it like Des 400 or something, but just a place to store your files. Or you can store it on your desktop if you're lazy. That's fine. But I would put it in Documents. You can see here I have a folder called My Name that has all my stuff. But that's like file storage. I know that's like a horrible explanation, but that's basically all there is to it. If anyone is really struggling, I can help with one-on-one later. Another tool that I want to mention is if you click on the circle to the right of the Windows tool, it's like their search item. So if you search for the snipping tool, I use this tool all the time. It's kind of a tangent, but I actually have it like anchored at the bottom of my screen as an app that I use a lot. It's a good way, if you click on new, you can just like copy part of the screen. It takes a small screenshot. It can be useful for saving images offline. I'll mention it later when it's more pertinent to what we're doing, but just be aware that it exists. So those are the two things I wanted to explain. There's like File Explorer, which is this window. These are all different files. If you go into one, it's like a file deeper. You can see it growing up here. This is where I recommend you store your files. SolidWorks has all their files buried somewhere within here. I recommend storing your files under Documents. But honestly, it literally doesn't matter. You can put it wherever you want, just as long as you know where they are. Don't lose your files. If you want to keep it on the desktop, that's okay. Okay, that is like my really crappy Windows crash course. Again, if anyone is super struggling, I'm happy to help. So again, you want to load SolidWorks. Mine is hidden in here in my start window. You can scroll down. It's probably under S for SolidWorks. or you might have a shortcut on your desktop, but let's go ahead and load it. Be able to figure it out and see. Okay. If anyone's super struggling, I can throw to pass around. SolidWorks is a beefy program and can take a while to load. I don't know if how the licensing for the student edition works, but I know for mine, like it has to check on the internet that I'm not cheating the system or using it twice. Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of shortcuts for SolidWorks. You want to click on the one that says SolidWorks 2019. You want this one. You don't need any of these others. You can. So yeah, you want to click on the icon that looks like this, SolidWorks 2019. All right, does everyone have this up? Okay, so this is to load my settings, and I already asked, I think all of you said that you have not used SolidWorks before, so I'm going to impose my settings onto you. We're going to go to options here, it's the gear, click on that. Sorry, that's a lie. Okay, wait, this is weird. Okay, not the gear, but the drop down arrow to the right of the gear, because they're a pain in the ass like that. Is it in the bottom tools? Oh, it's just in the bottom tools, thank you. You want to go to tools and go to save restore settings. That's what we're looking for. And it should pop up this window. I'll do it again slowly. And don't worry, this is being recorded. I'll throw it on YouTube, so if you need to do this later. Go to tools, go to save restore settings. And you should all see something like this. Is everyone with me? Tools, save restore settings. Okay, we're going to click on restore settings and click on next. And this is going to ask you, hey, where's the file you want me to restore? And this is where we're going to click browse. I'm realizing now that you all probably have a default download folder. I'm going to guess if you have quick access on the left here, it's going to be under downloads. I have mine programmed to go to my desktop. But you want to try and find this file you downloaded. The other way to do it is like in here, once you downloaded it, sometimes, I don't know what Internet Explorer is like, but it may have a little pop-up that tells you where it went. But anyway, within here, you want to click on Browse and go to the file you downloaded from Box. Again, mine's on my desktop. Yours might be in Downloads. And you want to click on that and click on Open. And you want to restore all the settings. And click Next. You don't need to create a backup because it's the default. You can always like revert back to whatever default settings, and then click Finish. If you want to create a backup, you can, but again, if it's brand new SolidWorks, don't worry about it. I think you all got it, but I will do it again just in case I went too quickly or anyone missed it. Again, Tools, Save Restore Settings, depress the Restore Settings button, click Next, Browse, go to the file you downloaded from Box, either under Desktop or maybe it will default to Downloads. Click Open, make sure all this is checked, click Next, and then Finish. And then Yes, because it's asking if I want to next step. Are you?
It just looks like this old computer from like it's like the resolution so bad.
It's poor.
Windows.
We can mess with it.
You can have
It would probably be better, yeah. Okay, we're all good on the same page? All right, cool. Next up, we're going to set up templates together. I have them on here under Box. That's what these downloads are. Honestly though, I was rethinking this. I think it's better if we set it up together because it will put it in the proper templates folder as opposed to trying to find it which is a pain in the ass, honestly. So, and that's a good way to get to know SolidWorks. So let's go to File, New. I'm assuming yours might look like this, or if it looks like this, you can click on Novice on the bottom here and just select Part and click OK. I can do that again. I'm hearing, so again, File, New. And then if you see something like this, my guess is if you see something like this, you may not see these files here. In which case, click on Novice on the bottom left. Then hopefully you see something like this. Make sure Part is highlighted in gray or depressed as a button, and then click OK. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that a second time. So now everyone should have a screen that looks somewhat like this. Does anyone not have a screen that looks like this? Okay, resounding silent yes. Great. The first thing we're going to do is now we are actually going to click on the gear. So we're creating like our default settings. I'll mess with your settings in a bit. Let's get this done as a class, but during the break I'll help you. So again, we're all going to click on the gear this time. System options should pop up. We're going to go to document. We're going to go to document properties. There's a chance this has already been done with my settings, but let's just double check. And then once you're on document properties, is the second tab, we're going to go to units, and we're going to use inch, pound, second for this class. You guys can, I don't know. I know there's some people with strong feelings about this, but for this class, we're just going to use inches. If you really want to use millimeters, you're welcome to. It's not like anything's going to be wrong, but just that's what I'm going to set mine to. So, okay. IPS. And then just click OK. That's it. That's all that's all we're doing in there. Now we're going to change our background settings and our lighting so that when we save out screenshots and stuff, our objects look nice and pretty. So we're going to go to this little red, yellow, blue, and green ball up here. And then we're going to click on this third little icon here. It says View Scene, Lights, and Cameras. I'm sorry, I know this is not exciting, but this way we get everything all together, and it'll make your life easier in the long run. So again, there's all these little icons. Let's see, can I? Nope, that's not. Can I do this? Nope, that's not working. Okay, apologies. I was hoping to zoom in here for you guys. Again, you're clicking on this like little ball, and then you're clicking on the farthest right icon here. It looks like a checkerboard floor. I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing here. Yep. Okay. So when you're here, you want to go to Scene, and you want to right-click on this and say Edit Scene. And under Background, set Image to Color. I'll do it twice just so you guys didn't miss it. I'm going to X out of this. So again, we're going to the ball. We're clicking on the third icon here so that it says Scene, Lights, and Cameras up here. Then you're going to this icon here that again has that ball. You're going to right click on this and say Edit Scene. It should bring up something that looks like this. And here we're going to change the background from image to color. So it's white. It gets rid of that gradient. Cool, all together, and then just check. Yeah, nice. Next up, we're going to edit the lights. Oh yeah, once you edit the scene and you change this to color, yeah, you want to click the green check mark up here. Click OK. Next, we're going to edit the lights. I don't know if yours all looks like this. Do you see 2 ambients and 6 directionals or no? Okay. let's do this. It doesn't matter as long as you have. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna, if you have if you have two ambients, delete one of them. Oh man, this might be the first of. You know what? Oh yeah, it's not deleting it for me either. Try right-clicking on it and seeing if delete is an option. Try on the directional lights until you only have two directional lights left. We may not be able to delete ambience, and that, I'll be honest, I don't know why. That's weird. So delete it. It doesn't matter which. We're going to change all the settings within them anyway. So just make it so that you have two directional lights and ideally one ambient, but I can't delete one of my ambients. I don't know why. So possibly. I'm not seeing a quick option for it. It's okay. It won't affect it. I don't think it will. You can say off in SolidWorks on one of them. Okay, everyone with me still? Okay, so take one of the ambients. Yeah, we're just gonna, if you have two ambients, click on one and just like click on off in SolidWorks, and it should make it grayed out. That'll be our workaround for now. Click on the next one and say edit light. I will also throw this document onto online, but this is settings that we're using here. So I will drag this off to the side so that we can all see it. And so I can see it. So the first ambient, we are going to set this setting to 0.1 and click on a check. Yep. 0.1, leave the color white, leave it checked as on in SolidWorks, and then check the box here. The next directional light, we're going to edit this. So again, right click on it and say edit directional light. And then for the settings, for ambient, the first setting will be 0. For brightness, the next setting will be 0.9. For specularity, the next setting will be 0.6. Then under light position, uncheck the box that says lock to model so that the box is blank. Set the first angle to -18 and the next angle to 18. And you can hit tab after entering those numbers to like make it happen. I'm going to see if enter works. Yeah, enter works as well, but I guess I was hitting tab. So again, first directional light, doesn't matter what the number is, 0, 0.9, 0.6, uncheck this box, -18, 18. And then click OK. And this is the last step, I promise. I know this is painful. Well, technically we should do this again for assemblies. We're going to edit this directional light. So again, edit, it's the second one, the one we haven't done yet. And this one, we're going to click on edit color. And if you all see this box, you're going to pick the lightest gray option you have and click OK. Yeah, mine's down here. Honestly, it really doesn't matter too much. You can define the gray if you want by clicking Define Custom Colors. It just needs to be a light gray. And then ambient is 0, brightness is 0.2, specularity is 0.8. Under light position, uncheck this again. Set this to 96, longitude to 96, and latitude to 9. This may feel, I know this is bland, but trust me, if you get all these light settings set up in your template, your models will look that much better, especially when you save out screen grabs for clients or whoever. It really shows the form nicely. This was the custom settings from WebDevLam. I guess they still exist. I was going to say when they still exist. And I found it useful. It's just nice to like make your models look better. And then, so again, this is the second light. I'm just going to recap what we did. Light gray, 0, 0.2 for brightness, 0.8 for specularity, 96 for longitude, 9 for latitude, and then click checkbox. And we are done with our settings. We're going to go to File, Save as. This is the most important step because we invested all this time. Now you should bring up a dialog that looks kind of like this. Click on part here and go to part templates. So again, down here, save as file type, click on that. It's the third from the top. Click on that. And so what should happen is now this should redirect you to where your templates are saved, which is why I made us do it together as opposed to giving you my template, because that felt more complicated. I don't know, maybe, maybe not, you guys tell me. And you can name this whatever you want. You can say part does 400 maybe, and just click save. Yeah, we're at the default told you, is my advice, yeah. Honestly, that doesn't matter. Because you did it through SolidWorks, it should point you there. So here, now let's all check to see if this works. If it doesn't, I can help one-on-one and maybe we can take a break because I've been doing a lot of talking and I'm sure you guys are bored out of your minds. So we want to go to File, New, and now click here. So that click on Advanced. If you see this screen, click on it so it says Advanced. If you see this screen, that's good. Hopefully you see whatever you just saved here as an option. I have one no. Did it work for other people? Okay. I'm assuming it's because it's in your Dropbox folder. So quick, show of hands. Who did this not work for? Who does not see this in here? Okay, cool. I can help Max. I'll help you in a minute. Let me double check my notes. Cool. That is all the setup we have done. Let's take a 10-minute break. Be back here at 5. And what we'll do is we'll then do a tour of like the hotkeys and SolidWorks. So hopefully that was the most boring part of the class and we can move on now. And Max, I'll come help you. All right. So if you guys still have the template open, I would go ahead and close it. There should be an X on the top right here. Here, I'll show you what it probably looked like. Let's just close out everything we have. So if you have anything open like this, there should be an X right there. Go ahead and click close. So that hopefully you see this screen. You can change your resolution if anyone's having issues with the resolution, go to your desktop and right click on it, and it's under display settings in SolidWorks. Again, if you installed my settings, it should be the same. Oh, you're Serrano, okay. So hopefully everyone has this, and we're going to go to File, New, and this is just going to be a bit of a tour. Click on the template you just made. Click OK. And hopefully, you know what, let me pull this up if I can find it right quick. Where are we? You know what? No, I don't think I have it on here. Darn. That's a mistake. If you guys all still have this sheet from last time, if you don't, you failed the class. I'm kidding. This sheet, I'm sorry, I want to pull it up on my screen, but apparently, you know what? I do have it. It is on my flash drive. I just want to look at this a little bit more in depth as sort of like a tour of like what we see. Awesome, awesome. Okay, sorry. Thanks for pulling it out if you have it, but I found it, so crisis averted. So, okay, as we look at our screen here, what we see, so firstly, I think my settings carried over, but if for some reason you don't see file and all that stuff, click on this arrow so it expands and click on this pin so it stays open. I it's like a pet peeve of mine when programs try and be all like sleek and hide their like it drives me nuts. It's like, oh, it's gonna look cool, but it's like, yeah, great, I can't find anything now. So yeah, hit that pin. Anywhere you see this pin in SolidWorks, it means, hey, leave this up here. If you don't want it, uncheck the pin and it can like make it disappear. Just that's a SolidWorks icon thing. That really doesn't matter. Besides the point. So on the under File, Edit, Save, all this good stuff up here, you have basic commands. I forget what this is called. I think it's called Command Manager. That's what it's called. So these are all the features. The features are things that you do to sketches, right? So recap from last class. If we are in SolidWorks worlds, if we are in the Stranger Things universe, there are two levels. There's SolidWorks world and then there's Sketch world. So there's Stranger Things and there's the Upside Down. So these features are all on level 1. The sketches are all on level 2. It's kind of like a step deeper. The features often, more often than not, rely on a sketch, but not always. Surfaces, we will get to this later. It's kind of another world. Underneath the command manager, where it's options of things we can do, we have what's called the feature tree, which is this thing here. So this, you can think of this as like the history, the Photoshop history of your file. And as you do commands, it will add things, but this is what it defaults to. And again, if you installed my settings, hopefully all of yours looks like this. Does everyone have a folder that says solid bodies? Okay, if you don't, then we can fix that. Oh, make sure that you're clicked on the object that looks like a. If you don't have it, here I'll show you, so that you can do it yourself, so that if you lose it, you can find it again. If for some reason you don't see the Tetris piece, you can use these arrows to navigate till you see one. And my guess is it's on the far left. And then click on that. Honestly, guys, for the most part, you do not need to worry about all these other icons. Sometimes we'll jump back into here for like adding colors and stuff, but for the most part, you're in here. So again, this is your property manager. Okay, so honestly, so I gave everyone the hotkey printout. That's just for your reference. You don't necessarily need to know that or memorize it, but when I say and do things, you can then use those hotkeys and they will match. It's what I have found that has worked for me. Probably the most confusing thing is that, the hitting Alt on a PC is the equivalent of hitting Option on a Mac. That's the most confusing thing. So let's enter Sketch World. So what we're going to do is on the left side here in our property manager, we're going to click on front plane so that it's highlighted in blue. You should see it in yellow here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit Alt S, but if you're on a Mac, try Option S and let me know if that works for you. And by what I mean if it works for you is, does it then turn the plane to face you and bring you into Sketch World up here on the top? Option S worked? Great. Well, it should be Alt S for a PC. Option S for a Mac. Okay. So if you have this only works if you installed all my settings successfully. When we did the very first step of like restore settings, you did that? I will help you in the next break, but as a quick recap, go to Tools. This is for Matthew. Go to Save Restore Settings. Click on Restore Settings. Click on Next. Browse to the file you downloaded from Box. Click on it, click Open, and just keep clicking Yes until there's no more options. If that didn't work for you, you can click on the front plane. You can do it the manual way. I'm gonna exit out of this sketch. You can click on the front plane here. You can click on Sketch up here, and you can click on this to enter Sketch World. Now, unfortunately, Sketch World does not look any different right now, but it is an important distinction. because now we can start drawing as if we're in Adobe Illustrator. The sketch lines will look blue. So hopefully everyone has something that looks kind of like this. You should have something here that says sketch 1. Mine says sketch 2 because I've exited and started a new one. So now the next hotkey, and again, I recommend using your keyboard. It will make your workflow faster. Is anyone a computer nerd and familiar with the term actions per minute? Yes. The more actions per minute you can do, especially if you play games like StarCraft, the more things you can complete in it. But in SolidWorks, the more efficient you'll be in working in it, as we hear loud boxes being dragged in the hallway. Okay, so this is why I recommend hotkeys. So I'm going to go ahead and hit R. And again, for the recording, the keys I'm pressing will appear down here in the bottom left. So I hit R. I invite you all to do the same. And you should now have something that looks like a pencil. That means that you have selected basically a sketch tool. R is for rectangle. If you want to do it the manual, slow way, you can look at all the little icons up here, find the one that looks like a rectangle, and click on it. So hopefully everyone sees this red thing in the middle. Yes? This is the origin, and this is incredibly important. And I will do my best to say this until you are annoyed with me so that you never forget to always start with the origin and connect things to it. So in this instance, with your rectangle, we are going to hover our pencil until the origin gets an orange dot and has a yellow box next to the pencil. Does everyone see that? When that happens, click on that and drag up into the right, and you should get a box. Click on it when you want to finish making the box. It doesn't matter how big we make it at this point. Does everyone have something that looks like this? Yes, so how do you, the question is, how do we move the box around here? I mentioned, maybe not clearly enough, but hopefully that a click wheel is useful for navigation. If you mouse wheel in and mouse wheel out, you can zoom in and zoom out, and this is my workflow for centering. I believe control and pressing center wheel down pans, but call me crazy, I've gotten so used to just zoom in, zoom out to like center it, but maybe I'm weird. If you hold down control and hold down the center mouse button, you should get a plus sign, and you can pan that way. On a Mac, it might be different. No, it should still be control. CT. Yeah. Did that work? Okay, cool. Okay, does everyone have something that looks like this? Max. Okay, let's say you pressed the middle wheel and you did something like this, and now you're like, oh, what did I do? Well, firstly, you can click check on the rectangle here. We're done with that. We are drawing on the front plane currently, so you can always select the front plane, and with my hotkeys, you can click Alt-N, or if you have a Mac, Option-N, and that will make it normal to you. I use that all the time to reorient myself. Okay, now that we're outside of the rectangle, I have a sheet that breaks this all down, but we'll look at it together right now. Does everyone see this? Does everyone's rectangle have 2 black lines and 2 blue lines? If not, chances are you missed the origin or you did something horribly wrong and your computer's about to explode. Okay, good question. Okay, this is the important distinction of Stranger Things and the Upside Down. If you, didn't think I'd ever say that sentence. If your sketches are all gray, that means you are in Stranger Things world. You are not in the Upside Down. That means you are in SolidWorks world, not in Sketch world. You need to go into Sketch world. The way you enter Sketch world is you highlight the sketch, and again, the quicker way is then you hit Alt-S or Option-S if you're on a Mac, and now you're in the Upside Down. If only, I forget his name, had that option to jump back and forth, it would make his life easier, but there would be no show then. Does that work? Okay, we're going to do it the manual way. So again, if your lines are gray, highlight the sketch, left click on it. It should be yellow. Then at the top tab here, make sure you're on sketch and click on this on the far left, click on sketch. And now click away and now it should be colored. What's that? Okay, I will help you in a minute. We're going to move on. No. No. This is, I hate to say it, everybody fasten your seatbelts. Welcome to SolidWorks. No, I'm kidding. We will do our best to keep this smooth and moving. Don't worry, you're not going to fall too far behind Max. I'm happy to come over there and help you in a minute. Okay, if everyone has this, hopefully except for Max, what we're going to do now is going to go to, so, okay, let me first explain what the colors mean. The black lines mean that they are defined. It means that there is a set fast rule that is defining what they do and they cannot be moved. The reason these lines are black is because they are coincident. They're attached to the origin. The reason that these lines are blue is because this point here can be dragged and go anywhere we want. But you'll notice as I drag this that no matter what, this stays attached to the origin. That's because, again, it's called coincident. First vocab word of many. Again, I have a sheet. I'll hand it out in a minute. But for now, it doesn't matter. Just be aware that black means defined, blue means not defined. Okay, we are now going to revolve this and make a cylinder. So, I don't know, you might be on the sketch tab here. Go to the feature tab. Make sure your sketch is still colored. And go ahead and click on revolve boss base. It looks like a not complete donut or a partially eaten donut. Everyone still with me? Now you see something, so instead of the feature tree, this has now been replaced by the property manager. So you know what, I apologize, I lied. This is the feature tree here. You know what, I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. We are now in the property manager, it's this little icon here. This will automatically pop up and disappear as we are making commands. What the property manager does is when you apply a feature to a sketch, this is where you put in the settings, and it's always going to happen on the left side of the screen if you leave this default layout. So often this asks you for questions. So here it's saying what's highlighted in blue is the missing information. So here it says axis of revolution. Where do we want this to revolve around? I think we should pick our vertical black line because that's on the origin, so we want it to be centered. Whenever possible, it's good practice to keep your objects centered around the origin. I literally just clicked on the black line and made it yellow, and then it kind of made it look like, it kind of gave me a visual of what the cylinder might look like. Did that work for everybody? All right, when that works, just click, wait, before we click, I mean, you could click check, but just to show you what for the most part, the settings are pretty straightforward and they default to what's used the most and most simple. But like any program, there are levels and you can get deeper. So for example, if you wanted half of a cylinder here, you could go to the degrees and type in 180. It was prompting me for the units and hit tab. My computer is being annoying and not updating the preview, but if I click check mark with 180, okay, apparently not. Thanks computer. 180, there we go. And hit tab, it updated it now. Other settings here, you know what, don't worry about this for now. I don't want to overly confuse you all. Just know, all you need to know is there is a property manager where you tell the properties of the feature that is happening to the sketch. Was everyone able to successfully make a cylinder? Cool. All right. I will start you all on the next shape. So what we can do now, if you have the solid bodies folder here, you can expand this and right-click on Revolve 1 and click on the eyeball to hide it. And it just disappeared. It's still there, but it's just hidden. And now this light got grayed out. So now, I'll do it again. So if everyone has the cylinder, look for the solid bodies folder. I think you can also do it out here. Yeah, you can do it out here. So if this is a little bit easier, you can right-click on the object you want to hide and click on this eyeball with a line through it. If you hover over it, it says hide, and it makes it disappear. It's still there, but it's gone. It's not visible. I am going to start you guys on the next shape and let you finish it. So let's Actually, yeah, let's make a cone. So we're going to select the front plane again. Sorry, I went really fast there. I'm determining how much to tell you guys. So click on the front plane, Alt S or Option S. You can click on Alt N to make it look normal to you if you want, or Option N. And now hit L to make lines, okay? And I will let you all figure out how to make a cone. I won't tell you, but remember you should start on the origin. I'm gonna go L next. So everyone try and make a cone the same. Okay, a couple things as I was walking around. Firstly, again, the sphere challenge was a little bit mean because there was a key thing that you don't know yet that I can't expect you to know without telling you. It looks like everyone got the cone, right? But just to show you guys what I would do for a cone, I would hit L to get lines. I would always start on the origin. You'll notice, actually, sorry, let me back up a couple things. I'm sorry if you're all sick of this analogy, but it's a very important one. And if you don't watch Stranger Things, let me know what you guys do watch and I can change it. The two worlds are very important to have a distinction between because it's easy to get confused as to whether you're in a sketch or you're out of a sketch, okay? The quickest way to know if you're in a sketch, so firstly, the way to enter sketch world is to pick a plane or somewhere where you want to draw on. If you look at this page again for the analogy, pick a piece of paper where you want to draw on within the program, and then either hit Alt S or click on the sketch tab and click on this up here. Now, this is the quickest way to tell if you're in the upside down. You look at the top right of your screen. If you have a red X and a blue arrow, that means you're in a sketch. If you're trying to draw a line or a rectangle and you're frustrated because it's not letting you, look in the top right. If you don't see a red X or a blue arrow, it means you're not in the upside down and you need to go into sketch world in order to make that sketch. Make sense? Cool. Okay, I am in sketch world now. I'm going to make a cone. So I hit L to make a line. Again, if you don't like the hotkeys, there are different drawing tools here, but I find the hotkeys to be quicker. L for a line. Always start on an origin. Unless you're building from zero, from scratch, always start on an origin. If you have another sketch and stuff, obviously it's going to change depending on what you're doing. But remember to hover over the origin until you see an orange dot and this yellow square. This yellow square has a small icon on it. And this icon happens to mean coincident or touching. And you know what? I will take this opportunity to pass. So if you look on the right side, let's see if I can pull it up here so that I can just refer to it. If you look on the right side of the page here, these are the different icons. You don't necessarily need to memorize them. It's more so just being aware that they exist. That's really what matters. They're kind of from like common. They are roughly organized from common to least common, but don't necessarily go by that. Coincident literally just means touching. Midpoint means coincident in the exact center. And a lot of these relationships automatically get applied as you draw the line. So again, if I hover over the origin with my line, it gives me the coincident icon. And you'll notice with my line here, it tells me the length of the line. That's what that number is. And as I rotate here, you'll notice if I go vertical, do you see how that little yellow dot appeared, or icon appeared? That's telling me that it is giving it the rule of vertical. So if I click and hit escape, that's why the line is black, because it is coincident to the origin and it is vertical. So there are two rules governing this line. If you ever want to know what rules are governing a line, you can always click on it, and it will tell you then here. Unfortunately, it doesn't have coincident, but it's showing as a gray icon here. You may have noticed that when you're drawing with a line, once you click, it'll let you keep going to make whatever shape you want. You can always hit escape to get out of that. So then the next line I would draw to make a cone, again, I would hover over this. You'll notice here it's like suggesting horizontal lines for me, but again, if I go horizontal, it'll give me the horizontal icon and click. That's now a rule that's given to that line. And now I can go with this angled line and come and meet it up here. For what it's worth, you can always apply rules to lines after the fact. So if I draw an angled line like this and highlight it, you can see I have two options here, horizontal or vertical. I can click vertical, it will make it vertical. Any questions on any of that so far? Yeah, don't worry about the other colors. They'll pop up eventually. We can refer to them. But anyway, this is just a reference sheet for your needs. Okay. And then, yeah, same thing. So we're still in Sketch World. I know we're in Sketch World because why? Because we're sketching, but there's many things. These two icons tell me we're in Sketch World. The fact that the sketch is in a color tells me we're there. For what it's worth, if the sketch has a blue shade to it, it means it's a closed profile. Oh, didn't mean to do that. If I have a line that's not attached, it's not highlighted in blue, that means it's an open profile. That means there's a gap somewhere in my shape. But now again, I'll click on revolve. It brings up the property manager. It's asking what I want to revolve around, and I can select the center line and click the checkbox. Any questions on anything so far? All right. Now let's make the sphere. So once again, this is the third, we're going to repeat this. Let's all work together. If you need to hide it, again, right click and click on the eyeball. To make the sphere, we're going to click on the front plane, and we're going to click Alt S and then Alt N to make the orientation face us. I'll show you an analog way just in case the hotkeys aren't your thing. Select the front plane, go to Sketch, click on this icon to enter the sketch world. You can also drop down this view orientation and select this like blue plane icon for normal too. But again, I think it's quicker, Alt S, Alt N, and move on. So now we're going to use two new tools. We're going to hit O to make a circle. And again, I would recommend starting on the origin. So you click on the origin or hover over the origin until you see that it is coincident to it, and then drag out. And everyone should have a circle. Yes? Okay. Here it comes, new tool. Well, firstly, we're going to do L to make a line. We want to make a line through the center. So you'll notice if I hover above the origin, hopefully this works for everybody too, you should see blue dotted lines. That means that the line will be coincident to the origin. So you can click when you have that and drag this down. Again, make sure it's vertical. It's going to want to snap vertical, and that's good. You want that. We're just drawing one line, so you can hit escape. And now you want the line to completely cut the circle. So you want to grab this top icon, or this top point here, and just drag it up. There is. So if the sketch tools up here have multiple options of the same tool. So if you click on the drop-down arrow, there is a midpoint line, and you could click on the midpoint and drag up. I use this less frequently than the standard line, so that's why the standard line is bound to the typical start-stop method. But yes, there are multiple options up here. I'm sure power users, or maybe I should do this, have multiple hotkeys for like every which way they would need to use. Okay, here comes the new tool. Does everyone have something that looks like this? It's like part of the Deathly Hallows from Harry Potter. We want to grab trim entities, or you can actually, you know what, just hit T, that's the hotkey. On the left side here, you want trim to closest selected. That's the best option, according to my classmate Trey from 2006. But I've used that ever since, and it really does work the best. So again, we're hitting the letter T for Trey, and we're clicking on trim to closest, and now you should have little scissors next to your pointer. And it works kind of as described. So for example, if I click on the left side of the circle here, it will delete it. And then if I click above and below the circle, it will delete it. My pop-up, this really doesn't matter, but just to explain to you all what's going on, because the line has been told to be centered on the origin, this is saying, hey, if you delete this, it's no longer going to be centered on the origin. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, don't worry about it. And then on the bottom again. Yeah, you guys probably didn't, because I used the center line as an example to Nina's question. So unless you did that, you won't get the warning. Okay, once you have that trimmed, you can hit escape to get out of the trim tool or hit the checkbox. And now someone tell me what I do to make a sphere. Yes, how do I do that? Yes. What is revolve? It's under what? Features. Yep, click on features here. You go to revolve. We're revolving, regular revolving. And then what I do now on this screen, what's it asking me for? Yep, it's asking me for the axis, right, and the line. Click on that, and now click checkbox. And we have now made a sphere, a cone, and a cylinder. And if we show all of them, there's weird things will happen. I don't know. Cool. So you'll notice again, this is like I mentioned. So this is our Jenga tower that we're building on the left side here. None of them relate to each other. We haven't done master sketches because we're just literally learning sketches and the revolve command. Max. Does it look like this? You may have accidentally hit Alt-Z. If you hit Alt-Z again, it will make it disappear, or Option-Z. For what it's worth, this is used to check your surfaces. It's a tool to look at, are things like tangent or not. Don't worry about it for now. Cool, any questions on anything? Awesome, let's take a 10-minute break. Come back at 5:45, and we will start on learning how to trace, like to do a little bit more in-depth sketching and talk about project one and the homework and stuff. Cool? So yeah, be back at 5:45 if you need to go, or check Twitter, do your thing. I have it, I don't use it, I should though. Yeah, yep. Yeah. Yeah, I used to. I'm sorry, I don't always have a good answer because SolidWorks does weird things sometimes. It has. I think it's literally just informing you that that's what the command is. I don't know why it's so big, to be honest. I don't have a good answer for that. SolidWorks. I actually don't know Fusion, to be honest. I've heard good things about it. I've heard it's really accessible. Um, that's what I've heard. That it's like a more simple version of SolidWorks. My prediction is that Fusion will grow and become more mainstream. Right now, SolidWorks, in my experience, in the Midwest, is the go-to design program. The most important thing is saving. So always remember to do that. Save consistently. So file save. Save as. Yeah, save. So if you hit save, it knows it's a new part, but it defaults to your template folder. So again, this is where I would navigate to your documents and find your like Des 400 folder that you created. Yes. I believe it's set up by default, is it not? It did not for you? Okay, let's oh, okay. Did not encounter that. Thank you for the heads up. I will look into it. Well, firstly, let's save this. So I'm saving this in my Des 400 folder. We're just going to call it whatever you want. You want to save it as a part, yes. And that's what it should default to. We will get into drawings next class and assemblies in project 2. Yeah, here you go. Okay. So, Max, thank you for that. I did not realize this was an effect of this. So if we all go to options, so again, click on the gear and go to, I just saw it, backup recover. It's like near the bottom. It's about like 10 up from the bottom. No worries. You go to the gear and you make sure you're on system options here. You want to scroll this all the way down and you're looking for backup recover. It's underneath view and above touch. And click on that. And here you see some settings. Auto recover. Save auto recover information every whatever you want to set. Mine's set for 10 minutes. That might be the default. It sounds like Max was saying you guys have my systems where this is now goofed up. So you want to reset your folder here by clicking the 3 dots to the right. And once again, it does not matter where you pick, just make sure you know where it is. So if you want, you could always just go ahead and select Documents. It's autosave. You could, yeah. It literally doesn't matter. So yeah, Documents Des 400. You can make it. You could like right-click in here and say New Folder, and say Backup. You could click on this and say Select Folder. I'm not going to because I'm happy with where my backup folder is. You know, that's a good question. Give me a minute, sorry. I have a link. So my backup folder is empty. I'm assuming it deletes it after a certain amount of time. I have a link that explains it. I will send it to the class. What was your question, Anastasia? You can mess with those settings here in number of backup copies per document. I have mine unchecked. Honestly, I think what happens, this is my best guess, is it only does the backup if this is an this might be misleading. This is auto recover. So this is if SolidWorks crashes. So it's not autosave, Max. If you want autosave, I believe it is backup, where you want to check this box. Again, I will send a link where I believe it breaks it all down. I know I have it somewhere in my email, I just need to find it. And I'll start next class with talking about those settings to make sure we're all on the same page. And here you go. If you check this box, you'll notice this answers your question, Matthew. Remove backups older than X number of days. You can set that to how long you want to keep them. I don't have that checked because I live on the edge. No. All right. Cool. Good questions, guys. Keep them coming. Glad for this to be discussion. So let's look at our feature tree here. There was a good question from Max M about how to edit our sketches once we've done them. So again, this is our upside down Jenga tower on the left that we're building. You'll notice that we have 3 revolves. The way that SolidWorks works is that when you create a feature, it puts it in the tree, and the sketch that it used to make the feature, the term I use is that it eats it. I got that from somewhere, I don't know where. But it's basically inside of the feature. So if you look at this little, click on the triangle to the left, it will expand that, and you'll see the sketch used to create it. So let's say you want to go in and edit your rectangle here. If you expand this and you hover over the sketch, if you right-click on this, you can click on Edit Sketch, or you can simply select it and hit Alt-S, whatever works better in your head. Again, hover over it, right-click, Edit Sketch. I'll do that again. So you can hover over this, right-click. It's this icon above the eyeball. It looks like a pencil with a blue line and a grid. Or you can select the sketch and just hit Alt-S or Option-S for a Mac. And now once you're in here, you can now drag this around, change it to whatever you want your design to be, click the checkbox. And then once again, you can either hit, to exit the sketch once you've modified it, you can either click this icon on the top left here in the Sketch tab, or you can simply click the blue arrow. So once again, to know you're in Sketch World, look in the top right to see these icons. I did not explain what the icons are. X means exit without saving changes. Blue means exit with keeping the changes. And now it looks like I have an illegal, maybe not.
I have only like lines. I don't have the things that are made, like solid things that are made. Like when I go to sketch, edit sketch, I see it my cylinder, but when I think I showed that.
Okay, so right now you're not in Sketch World. So which one do you want?
No, I just want to see what you see, like with all my things, like that I did the cylinder.
Sorry. Okay, good question, Anastasia. Hey, guys, I apologize. I did not mention this. In order to hide and show things, you use your solid bodies folder. So, or the I option, either way. Yeah, you can do it here too. So if you only see like your sphere, you can go here. You don't see these ones. You can right click on this and click on the eye, or I believe you can also do it here. There is no shortcut method for hiding and showing bodies. There's just different ways to go about it. So you can either do it in the solid bodies folder, or you can do it in the feature tree. I guess the feature tree would be the quicker method, as Max pointed out. Oh, that there's no quick way to... Yeah, I think when it comes to solid bodies, there is, yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Okay, cool. Any questions on this? All right. Yes, sorry. There is a command for moving the solid itself. It's sort of better. It depends what you want to do. So there's no good answer to this. I would say in general, it is best practice to move the sketch. But again, it depends what you're trying to do. If you need to move the solid body itself, there is a move tool that we may need to load in here. You cannot just click it and drag it because it is fixed in its location in space. We will get to assemblies in project 2 where you drop bodies in, and in assemblies you can just click it and drag it. It's kind of, that's yet another world. Really, Inception is the best analogy here. I will just. Oh, this isn't right. I will just quickly show you under tools and customize, there's a lot of other extra features here. This one that looks like, you guys don't need to do this, I'm just answering for Matthew. If we get to the point where we do need to do this, I'll show you how to do it. Actually, you know what? No, this might be useful. So if you guys ever need to add a command that's not in here, and again, as we encounter commands that need to be done that don't appear up here, I will show you how to add them. But basically, the gist of it is you go to Tools, Customize, Commands. I know SolidWorks is a pain in the ass. Features, and these are all the different feature commands. These ones are just the most often used, but here is the Move Body command. You can drag any of these and drop them on your, keep forgetting what this is called, command manager. And here's where you would click on this to move a body within this part, and now you have things you can click and drag to move it. But I think what you want to do makes more sense than an assembly. Honest answer. Okay, let's move on, unless there are any other questions. Cool, and yes, good questions, keep them coming. I like questions. Okay, now that that's saved, I apologize, we're probably going to go right up to 6:40 today, but with the remaining 40 minutes, we are all going to build an aluminum can. And the good news is this is part of your homework, so hopefully that's motivating that it crosses one less thing to do. What's that? Yeah, you can close it. So let's go back to box. Hopefully it's still open. Apologize if you have to re-download this. And go to project 1 in the Des 400 folder and click on images to revolve. And this is your homework for a week from today because we don't have class Monday. I apologize for giving you homework over Labor Day, but hey, you have plenty of time. You have to build all 5 of these. And I will go over the can. Hopefully, it shouldn't be too bad for next Wednesday. You don't need to worry about the details. You just need to revolve everything. Good question. The dimensions are, and I will cover this now as we build the can together. But the short answer of how you know the height is the name of the object is given. The name gives the largest bounding box of the object. That explanation will be more clear when we work together on the can. Okay, so everyone, you can either download all these images, but the one that we need right now is the aluminum can. The name of that document is 2.6W. That's what it starts with? 2.6WX 4.8H. So please download that file. Okay, Okay, as that's downloading, hopefully that's working out for everybody. We're going to go to File, New, same thing, click the template we made and click OK. And now we are back into a nice fresh document. And so now, let me know if I'm going too fast, but now you should have your file downloaded or downloading. You should have a new blank part file open, and we're going to create a sketch. So we're going to click on the front plane, and we're going to hit Alt-S, just like we did to make the three basic, the cone, the cylinder, and the sphere. Yes, Max? That's a good question. I don't know. I believe... Let's find out. I will exit my sketch. I don't see it. Let's see. I don't know if there is... Okay, the question Max asked, does the origin only show up in sketch mode? If you guys want to hide and show things, the trick to that is going to view and going to hide show. And there are plenty of options in here. My default was that the origin was hidden. Where was it now? Is it coordinates? Did it change the name? No, origins right here. I had this unchecked, but if you check it, it will show up in blue. Okay. Again, hopefully everyone has a blank document. Select front plane, hit Alt-S, Alt-N if you need to look at it. And now we are going to make a bounding box. We're going to make a rectangle that will serve as a bounding box. A bounding box is a fancy way to say a box that tells you the extreme dimensions of an object. So in this instance, actually, we're not going to click directly on the origin, but we're going to get the dotted line for the origin. And I will explain why we're doing this in a minute. But I would go find the dotted line above the origin, click and drag. What we want, and then you can hit escape when you have that. It didn't give it to me. But anyway, you should have a rectangle where the left line goes through the origin. Now, if it's like me, I was assuming that that would snap for us, like it would give us that rule of coincident, but apparently it hasn't for me. So if you can click and drag your line left and right, I mean, it's a good teaching opportunity. You want to select the origin, hold Control, and also select the line. So you're selecting both of them. They're both highlighted in yellow now. And click on coincident. Here it says add relations. Again, this is a property manager. We are modifying the properties of this line to be touching the origin. Yes, Max. I would hit escape so you're not selecting anything, and make sure that you are only selecting the two things, the origin and the line. I hold Control to select multiple objects. So, okay, if you're having trouble, we can start again. Everyone just hit escape a couple times to make sure you're not selecting anything. Then I'm going to mouse wheel zoom in. I'm going to select the line first this time so that the line is yellow. I'm now going to hold Control on my keyboard. This should be the same for Mac users. And then I'm now going to I'm going to hover over the origin and click it and let go of Control. And hopefully this pops up, and under Add Relations, there should be an option for coincident, and click that. We all on board? I'm going to go back here and double check the settings here. So, okay, so these dimensions here are given in inches. So this is 2.6 inches wide by 4.8 inches tall. That's the size of this aluminum can. Or we can get a ruler and measure it. So I'm going to write that down because I've already forgotten it several times. 2.6 by 4.8. And now we're going to learn a new tool in here. So if you hit D, it brings up the dimensioning tool. If you don't like hot keys and you prefer cold keys, you can go up here and click on Smart Dimension. And this will give you like a little icon next to your pointer that looks like two parallel lines with an arrow in between it. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to give the height of our bounding box of our soda can, beer can. And we're going to highlight this line that's orange and drag it to the right. And you can see, I don't know, everyone's numbers are going to be different, but in here you want to type in 4.8. I will do this again in case that was too quickly. So again, if everyone has a rectangle, hit D for dimension, highlight one of the tall lines. Honestly, it doesn't matter which one. So it's orange, and then click on it. You should then have this be able to drag out. Click once, it should bring up this box that's asking you how long to make this, 4.8 inches. Cool? All right, this next one's a little bit tricky because we are revolving this, so this is half the dimension. So again, we're still in the dimension tool. We're going to click on this top one. Don't get confused here. It says 2.6, but it's actually half of 2.6, so we want 1.3. And click check. And so now this is half of our aluminum can. It should be filled in. Yeah, if it's not filling it in, there's something wrong. So the aluminum can is a little bit different from all the others because all the other things have caps to them. Actually, no, there's also a Campbell's soup can in there, which is probably the easiest one to build. Generally, I'll pose this as a question. Let's say, I realize this is not a revolve bottle, but imagine that you guys had to build this as a revolve. Where would you put the origin? In the center, and where vertically? It does matter. The bottom is a good guess, but that's not the answer. No, we do want center. Okay. Any guesses why the bottom may not be good? And now think about project one. I'm going to have you guys change the height of this to make the size different. What happens if the origin's at the bottom and this bottle is going up and down? Let me try and make this more of a leading question. So imagine that we're building this in SolidWorks. This is probably more of the, I'm having you all revolve the main body, but I will have you guys build the caps and put grooves in them. We'll learn how to do that. It's not too hard. If you go through the trouble to build grooves in the caps and your origin is at the bottom and the bottle is going up and down, what might happen to your cap? Yeah, it might just get goofed up. Again, it's like the Jenga tower. You want to think about the best way to set it up so that when you pull the blocks out or you change the blocks, it doesn't all collapse. This is a technical part of the bottle. If this is growing, this is moving. So, I mean, it is possible to build this in such a way that this will fix itself no matter where it moves. It's just more of a pain in the ass. It's much more better to put the origin right here. Why? Because the cap doesn't care what the bottle does. The bottle can grow big, it can go small. These are industry things that will always be explained to you depending on what it is you're working on. So to mimic that with this, we are going to put the origin right below the lip of this. There is no cap, it honestly doesn't matter. But if I'm not going to have you guys build this, don't worry. The homework is purely revolved, so don't freak out. The form. But if I were to have you build this, then absolutely you would want the origin here, because again, you wouldn't want all of this hard work to get goofed up as this jumped up and down. So, and again, I hate this answer, but this is only something you will learn from just working in SolidWorks. It will start to make sense depending on what you want to do. Okay, long way to say that. I forget how tall this is. You know what? For now, we are going to do this the lazy, efficient way. We are just gonna, you know what, it doesn't matter where this is, we're just gonna drag this down to about here. Just eyeball it so it's a little bit above the origin. Yeah, just above. Okay, so hopefully everyone has something that looks like this, 1.3, 4.8. We are going to exit out of this sketch. So now we are out of the upside down. We're in the right side up. And then we're going to create a new sketch again. This is why I had you download that picture. So again, we're going to select the front plane, and we're going to hit Alt-S to enter sketch world again. You'll notice that the other sketch should still be gray, because we are not in that sketch. We are in a different sketch. Again, really, Inception is the best analogy, more than, because there's multiple levels, and I know it sucks. Hopefully everyone has sketch picture as an option up here. So under the sketch tab on the far right, you should have something that looks like mountains and says sketch picture. And we should all click on that, and it will bring up the Windows Explorer tool, File Explorer tool, and wherever you downloaded that image is probably the same place you downloaded my settings. I want you to navigate there. Again, it might be under downloads, it might be under your desktop. But pick the image that looks like the two cans, or again, the image titled 2.6W x 4.8. I'll do it again slowly. So you should be in a new sketch. You go to sketch picture. This should pop up. And then you want to select the can picture we downloaded and click open. Here is where I mentioned earlier the snipping tool. Sometimes this is useful. If you have like a really big image, it can take a while to load in SolidWorks. If you use the snipping tool to grab a screenshot of it, it can speed up your workflow by not having to load such a big image. That's like a complete aside. If that sounded confusing, don't worry about it. I realize it's 6:15 and we're all probably shot. Yeah, open. Hopefully everyone has something like this. Like it should have dropped the image into the file. I'll do it again. I'm going to delete my image out. Go away. So click on sketch picture. Again, you should be in a new sketch. It should pop up a dialog box. Navigate to the image. Click on it so that you're selecting it, and click open. Everybody, so once again, you need to have this icon here that says sketch picture that looks like a mountain and a sun. If for some reason you don't have it, we can go to, you can add it by doing this, so please follow along with me. If you cannot find sketch picture, please follow these steps. Go to Tools, Customize, Commands, Sketch, and look for the mountains. They're at the bottom, 4 from the left. Second from the bottom, 4 from the left. Click on this and holding down, drag it and let it go on your command manager. Alrighty, so again, guys, sketch picture, select it, open, it drops it in. If the image is really big, once again, that's where it's good to use snipping tool. So okay, so now we have this image in here. We have the box that tells us how big it's going to be. We're making the smaller of the two cans. So we're going to drag this. If you click on it, it'll drag it around. If you click on one of these corners, it will scale it by keeping its proportion the same. So here we're just going to play the game of trying to align the image with the bounding box. So I'm clicking the top right corner, I'm scaling it down, I'm mouse wheel zooming in, and I just keep on like making it a little bit smaller. Mouse wheel out, mouse wheel in to kind of center this. You'll notice that the can is not perfectly orthographic. Just do your best to get the alignment close. You can kind of split the difference of the top and bottom curves. But what is important is that you align the right edge to the right of your bounding box. It does not have to be perfect. I'm not going to be that, what's the word, strict. Yeah, when I will be forgiving when it comes to tracing this. Honestly, this is exactly what you will be doing for project one, except you will be picking what it is that you revolve, and obviously it can't be any of the 5 that I've picked, so I'm sorry about that. Cool. Did everyone figure this out? I know that it's like mouse wheel in and out is maybe kind of weird for some. Again, you can hold control and click center mouse wheel to do this. The other thing that I like to do when I drop in one of these reference images is in my property manager on the left here, I like to go to transparency at the bottom and click on full image and just drag this to like 50% or even less, whatever your preference is for dealing with background noise. Obviously enough that you can see it because, surprise, surprise, we're going to trace the cam. The arrow, yeah, I don't have a good answer for you. It's like, I believe it's tied to the image somehow. It defaults to the center. I believe it allows you to, you know what? I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I don't know what the arrow is. I don't use it. I only use this to drop in things to trace. This technique is super handy. Like you may get a client that's like, hey, here's a front sketch. I want you to build this in CAD. That's a good way to start, is you drop in the front view of a sketch. Or yourselves, if you're designing something and you have a hand-drawn sketch. Oh yeah, sorry, like a real sketch that you drew with your hands. You can drop it in as an image and trace it. Okay, everyone good? Does everyone have something that looks like this? The small can aligned with the bounding box? Yeah, the alignment we're kind of eyeballing. I would say if you want like an absolute answer, I would say like you can like try and align this part to the top line. So I have a gap here and I'm saying maybe don't do that. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I'm not that strict, especially for this homework. Okay, if you want to go back and edit it, you can always click back on the sketch or double click on the image. Sorry, you should still be in sketch world, and you should still be in the sketch world that has the can in it. So if you want to edit it, you can go back in here and drag it up slightly if you want to fuss. But honestly, at this point in the class, don't worry about fussing. Oh, that's right. Thank you. That's a good question. You are going like this. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Either way, it's fine. I was saying this because what we're going to trace is the right edge because the top is flat and the bottom's flat. That was my reasoning. Literally doesn't. For the homework, literally does not matter. For project one, maybe be a little bit more considerate. What I forgot to mention was we did float this a bit above the origin, which I think is adding confusion now. So honestly, at this stage in the game, just align it. We're just going to worry about tracing and revolving. I already made my point about this for the homework. Okay, hopefully everyone has this aligned. Yes, and look up here. You're probably still in sketch world. We want to exit, hit the blue arrow because we want to save the changes. Do not hit the red X. You'll have to do it again. All right. I'm assuming everyone's with me. So now we are going to do something in the feature tree here of rearranging the sketches, which you can literally do by dragging. So it's like rearranging our Jenga tower. So this is our starting bounding box. Now we used it to get the right size of the image, but now we want to build the details into the box and we want the image to be visible. Just to illustrate a point, you don't need to do this. If I right click and edit this sketch, you'll notice that everything below it, this sketch is grayed out because it looks at it sequentially. It only looks at everything above the sketch. The Jenga tower only cares about what came before it. So because I want to add details from the can, I can't see it. I exit the sketch. You want to drag this sketch. It's either going to be called sketch 3 or 2 for you. And you want to drag this above the first sketch you did under the origin. and now it rearranged them. So now your bounding box came after the can. Yes, you can, and that's a good habit to get into. So if you, with the sketch highlighted, if you click on it again, like on the word, you can read, it will bring up this editing tool and you can say master sketch. Click away to get out of it. You can select the first one and click on that. You can name this reference. Okay, now that we have the master sketch after the reference image, we're going to right click on this and say edit. So we should now have, your file should now have two sketches. One should have the image of a can, the other should have a rectangle with some dimensions on it. We want to edit the rectangle, but we also want to make sure the rectangle is after the can so that when we edit it, we can still see the can. So I'm going to select this sketch here, and there's multiple ways to do this. I can either go to sketch and click on the sketch command. I can select this and hit Alt-S, which is the quickest way, or I can right click and say edit sketch. And so now you should be back in sketch world. You should look up here, you should see an arrow and an X, and you should see a rectangle highlighted in blue. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to trace this as if we're an illustrator. So I'm going to give you guys a new command. It's A. It creates an arc. And we're going to click up here. So I'm clicking on the top line with my arc. And again, you can see it kind of gives me these guidelines. If I follow the dotted line down, it will keep the bottom of the arc in line with the top. And the way the arc tool works is you create the 2 points and then you can drag to make the arc as big or small as you want it. And basically I realize at this stage it's like pixelated, but just kind of get a general idea of like what the top lip of this can looks like. You should be in the master sketch. You should be in the sketch with the rectangle. The reason that I dropped the can in another sketch is so that you don't accidentally modify it while you're tracing it. It's kind of like, think about it as putting it on like a locked layer in Illustrator. So if everyone has an arc, the next thing we want to do is create a line from the base of the arc to roughly where the can meets this right line here. And then you can, again, you can hit escape. Cool, we're done with the top. Now we're going to go to the bottom. And again, we're going to hit L to make a line. Click roughly where the pixels meet the right edge. Come down here. And then now we want a vertical line to the bottom. If we look at the can, there is a bit of a foot down here. And we're just going to come straight down. Yeah, just vertically straight down. There's a little more nuance to this. I'm not going to go too far because I realize there's been a lot of talking and classes probably felt long for y'all, which I don't blame you. I'm trying to think the most pertinent information to give you all. Two things. One, when it comes to tracing these bottles, you'll notice there's like curves on the bottom here, or like curves in here. It is up to you whether to trace the curve or to add it as a fillet later. This will make, I think I'm ahead of myself. Let's finish building this and then I'll explain that nuance. So honestly, if you guys have a bit of a curve on the top here, or an arc with a straight line here, and two straight lines here, you are done with your master sketch. We could add like a little more dimensioning and definition to this, but for now, let's just leave it at this. Okay, so you can exit the sketch. You can either hit the blue arrow here, you can hit the exit sketch tab here, or you can hit, I think escape works, enter. Nope, neither of those work. Alt-S would work to exit the sketch. That's, I think, what I do. So does everyone have two sketches? Now that we're out of sketch world, you don't see the icons up here, you should have a gray sketch that looks roughly a trace of the can with the box and the can itself. Okay. This is going to feel convoluted for this simple process, but again, for the homework, I want you guys to use these steps because it will help it get ingrained into you, not only for just working in SolidWorks in general, but mainly for project one, at least in this like close in view. So now we're going to create a third sketch. We're going to go to the front plane. We're going to select it here from the tree, and we're going to hit Alt-S. You should create a new sketch should appear in the tree. Mine's number 4. Yours might be number 3. We are then going to copy our master sketch over, and the way we do that is by selecting the master sketch here. So it should all be yellow. And then you want to look and find convert entities at the top, or you can hit C is the hotkey. And it should turn it to be black within your sketch here. Now you'll notice that obviously we don't want this extra bounding box info, so we can hit T for tray and trim out this extra bounding box on our can. Am I going too fast? So again, we selected the master sketch, hit C to copy it. And now we can trim out these extra stuff. Yeah, being coincident, learning like the rules and the relations of the lines is important. Being coincident is important. So for those of you that got to this step, I'm sure you can figure out how to finish the can. If anyone wants me to do this again, I'm happy to. Max, yes. You know, that's a good question. It's not blue for me right now. I think it'll be okay though. Let's try it out. So I'm going to go to features. I'm going to go to revolve. I'm going to select this. And it should do it. There is a chance that if it doesn't do it, you may have mistraced the line in the master sketch. I will come over there and help. I can walk around. Oh, yes, thank you. We should, again, I always forget this. It's absolutely the most important step. But yeah, save as, yeah, can. Oh, yes, good questions. Yes. This is what I recommend for naming conventions. The project that we are currently under, so start with P1. And then you can either your initials or underscore your initials, whatever you want. So NW or MM, yeah. And then after that, whatever you want to call it. But that way it will help keep your files in line for me to know which is which. You can do full name. Honestly, all I care about is like the project followed by your name, however you want to do your name. It can be your first name, it can be your initials, whatever. You can do M&M. As long as I know who you are and you're consistent, that's all that matters. So I'm going to name mine P1 underscore NW underscore can. I'm going to hit save. You could, yeah. Yeah, do can short so that you can do this tall one as well. Ma'am, all right, ma'am. Okay, I want to show you guys like a couple more things. I'm sorry, I know it's been a long class. So you'll notice the can's kind of sharp. Here's a new tool. It's called Fillet. It's a feature. You can also do Alt F to bring it up with my hotkeys. But it looks like a box with like a green edge here. If you click on that, so let's all do this together. Click on the feature fillet, or the feature called fillet. And again, there's a blue box here, and it's asking, hey, this is essentially asking us what edges do we want it to fillet. And again, you'll notice this can, it has soft corners here. So we're going to go ahead and click on these corners. In this instance, it's okay. Obviously, on a more complex file, you want to like pick and choose the ones that are the same, the ones that aren't. Because this is a rolled edge, there's really no blend up here, so don't select that corner. But you can select the bottom, the next three, the widest points here and this internal fillet down here. You can make the setting to 0.1 and then just click check. And now the can is done. It's revolved. We don't need to worry about the top indent up here. If you got an error, decrease the fillet size. Try and make it smaller. There's a chance that if you're getting errors, do a couple things. Make sure that you're only selecting the 3 edges and make sure your fillet size is small. If you're getting an error, I will help you after class. We're about to run out of time. But the quick answer, we are selecting this edge, and this edge. Yeah, if you're collecting the bottom edge too, it's like trying to fillet both and there's not enough space there, so don't select that. Again, I can help any individual errors after class. Okay, in the last 3 minutes, I'm just gonna say a couple things. One, when it comes to building the tall can, you can modify this in-class file to make the tall can, okay? My advice to you though, is when you do that, I would define these things here. So I would hit get your dimension tool, you can define an angle. You can define like how far out this goes, how low it goes, or you can retrace. Like you don't have to do this, but you've already done this work. If you set, again, it's all about setting up your Jenga tower in a way that it doesn't break, building a shelf or whatever solution works for you. And in fact, and basically, if you take the time to do this, all you need to change is this H dimension, and it'll fix it for you.
So when you put dimensions up, it stays like, it's not like only for you to see what is dimensions.
Oh, it's a control. Yes. Great question, great distinction. You know what? Yeah. For those of you that want to stay and just knock out the big can, we can work together on that. I want to say one thing and dismiss people that want to leave, and then I will show you how to do the big can. I'm sorry we went over. Let me just look at these images really quickly as we trace this. Okay, looking at this for homework. So this is what I want. I want the tall can here. I want the Campbell soup can. Again, they're names for their largest height and their largest width. So for example, the Sriracha bottle, the height is given from the tip here to down here. Please don't worry about the grooves. We're literally just tracing the silhouette. It can be rough. This is all about just getting the experience of doing it. I'm not worried about it being like, I mean, I would try and like get this white space in here, but don't stress about it, please. Here, again, don't worry about this inner feature. Just like get this outside and just revolve it. I would try and trace the image as closely as possible. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, keep it in the same body for now. If you want to make them separate bodies, you can, if you understand that, but I haven't explained it really in any depth. So there are some easier ones, like the palm one is probably the most hard one because it has just the most to trace. These two should be pretty straightforward. Like for example, for the Campbell soup can, all I'm expecting is just like straight line, bump on the top, bump on the bottom, all right? I'm not telling you which one, but I will have one of these items in real life next class. I will show you guys how to make a full-scale print of one of these, and we will compare the accuracy. You won't be graded on it, but it will be an intro into understanding like what you need to do for project one. When it comes to tracing like fillets and stuff, so for example, if there is a curve that is part of the design of the bottle, so like this shoulder here, I would trace that curve. I would not do that as a fillet command. This is what I started to say earlier. Something like this inner part, or like, especially like these inner parts here, I would have those be straight lines meeting each other, or a curved line into a straight and adding the fillet later. Fillets are only used for finishing, they're not used for designing, is the simple way to put that. And I almost forgot, and I'm glad I didn't, I'm sorry. The other homework is, so you have to build those 4, and you have to bring the models to trace the project one, I believe. You do. Sorry, did I say 4? There are 5. I will count the 5 again. Well, the reason why I counted 4 is because you can modify this one. We already started the can. So you're building 4 new ones. Hopefully the Campbell soup can is a gimme. It should be easy. Anyone who wants to stay, I will modify this can to be the tall can with anyone who wants to stay. The last part of the homework is, I will quickly pull this up if I can. Again, I apologize for going over. I know it's been long. Oh, my brain is shot now. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are too. I apologize. So the homework here, bring in 3 bottles and images. Okay, so project 1, as a reminder, you are tracing 3 bottles and making a double size and a half size. I'm going to request, instead of 3 bottles, it's okay to bring in 2. My recommendation would be to just pick a bottle around the house that you can trace. It looks like everyone has a water bottle. Everyone could do a water bottle. That's cool. And the 3rd bottle can literally just be an image online to make your life easier. Yeah, 2 bottles, 1 image. I can put that in an email, just so it's absolutely clear. Oh my gosh, yeah, good question too. For the homework, you know what, let's keep it simple for now. For the homework, just have the files on your computer. I'll walk around and check for credit. But yes, eventually we will. Yeah, let's just keep it simple for now. Don't worry about uploading it to Box. Eventually we will do that though. We're kind of yeah, we'll do that for the midway check-in. Any other questions? Okay, again, I'm sorry that, I guess it's only 3 minutes over. I shouldn't be that sorry. But if you want to go, you're free to go. If you want to stay and knock out the tall bottle with me, the tall can with me, we can do that right now. Cool. Glad some of you are saying. Okay, so if you're back in your file here, let's do this together. And honestly, this should be only like 5 minutes, but we'll see. Okay, so if you are in your can file, go back to your master sketch and edit it. And again, it's recording on YouTube, so if you leave, you can always skip to the end of the video and follow along. We are going to create a new line by hitting L, and I'm going to drop it connecting my arc here. What this is sometimes you have what's called a construction line, a line that literally just helps you keep things in track, in order. If you select it, you can select an option that says for construction. It makes it dotted. And what this gave us now, because this line has this vertical component to it, it's now controlling this arc to be vertical. What we can do is by hitting dimension, we can now dimension from the center line to this line. And it is what it is because we traced the image. And now this is controlling, it's making sure that this won't jump left and right as we edit this. We're now going to dimension also the height of our lip. Mine happens to be close to 1/8 of an inch. And now I believe if we dimension the angle of this, it should turn it black. It did not. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Oh, that's right. We want to dimension the height of this. So you can dimension from the origin to the height of the can. And you will now notice that these images have turned black, or these lines have turned black, so that means they're defined. They will not move as we change the height of our can. We want to do the same thing down here. We want to dimension from the center to the edge. And again, the height of the line, because that's the foot. And again, the angle. If this is confusing, a short way to do this, it's not a good way, is to just keep dimensioning until the thing is all black, because then it won't jump as you edit it. Yeah, good question. Good question. So when it comes to dimensioning, there's different ways to dimension. You can click a line and give it its length. You can click a point and click another point and give it a height. or a width, depending on where you drag it. Or you can click a line and then another line. Whoops, I accidentally selected a point. Click a line and then another line and get that angle. And now I believe if I go back here and check what the size was, the tall bottle is 6¼ inches tall. So now we simply just go back to SolidWorks, double click on this, and say 6.25 and click the checkbox. And you'll notice because we dimensioned that nothing got goofed up, now we can exit this, and now we have our tall can. It's that simple. File save, this is the homework. Any questions on that? Cool. I will upload this to YouTube. You are all